Come on, God, answer me. For years I'm asking you why. Why are the innocent dead and the guilty alive? Where is justice? Where is punishment? Or have you already answered? Have you already said to the world, here is justice, here is punishment, here in me?
In 1989 saw the release of The Punisher. It hit many theatres worldwide, but unfortunately for the USA it went straight to home video and laserdisc. The same year saw Batman come to the big screen. The producers were aware at the time Batman was in production, but didn't see it as competition. Stan Lee had been pursuing in getting some of the Marvel comic book heroes on the big screen for years, and had only managed to get them on TV, but those shows still proved very popular, like the Amazing Spider-Man show and The Incredible Hulk. During the 80s there weren't many superhero movies, only really Superman that was succeeding, but the Chris Reeve films began to decline due to poor budgets and the lack of faith in the character by the producers. During the mid to late 80s, Cannon had wanted to release a live-action Spider-Man feature film. Scripts were produced and some publicity shots were done, but that was as far as it got. There was a very short promotional video which you can see here.
Within this unsuspecting city, history's greatest experiment creates tomorrow's greatest superhero. Spider-Man, the movie. A live-action spectacular directed by Joe Zito, based on the characters created by Stan Lee.
The Punisher came about in the early 70s as a sort of villain for Spider-Man, and was originally going to be called the Assassin. There had been many comparisons with the character to Batman. They share similar personality traits, but with Batman he doesn't kill his victims like the Punisher. When the film was released, the sales of Punisher comics had dropped sharply. Every comic book writer in the industry has had a stab at working on the comic, and it wasn't until Garth Ennis took over and really made a serious take on the character and boosted sales. The back catalogue of the Max series is really worth tracking down and reading. At present, Marvel have again tried to reinvent the character, and are gone for a lighter tone, which definitely is a step in the wrong direction, and has upset many hardcore fans. The film upon release got some favourable reviews from British and French critics, but most reviews were very average and some poor. One of the first things you notice is that the Punisher doesn't have the white skull logo on his chest. It seems very strange to me not to include it. It would be like seeing a Superman film without the logo on his chest. He wouldn't be Superman without it, and I feel the Punisher needs his skull logo. That's how people recognise him. The visual design of his costume is a huge step in the right direction and is similar to what he looks like now. At the time in the comics he had a sort of black spandex look to his outfit, with white boots and gloves. Mark Goldblatt, who had previously directed a B-movie called Dead Heat, directed the film. He had only directed 2 movies I believe, but his skills lie in editing. He's one of the best editors in the industry and worked on Terminator 1 and 2, True Lies, Starship Troopers, Bad Boys 2 and the recent Rise of the Planet of the Apes. So his editing skills lie mostly in action. The star of the film is Dolph Lundgren, which I believe was his 4th film in a lead role. Just before he had played another comic book hero, which was He-Man. His acting by this point was a huge improvement over He-Man, but still pretty wooden to a certain degree. His version of Frank Castle, aka The Punisher, was a bit flat and not very interesting. He does actually show off some of his martial arts skills, which as far as I'm aware is the first time you see him perform it. He's ranked a 3rd dan black belt in karate. There are some videos online of Dolph performing at shows, and you can see here him chopping through some ice. There were many scenes that were dropped from the film that showed Frank Castle with his family and living their happy life before the mobsters took revenge on him. The scenes I did find were from a VHS master, and in some shots you can actually see the boom mic.
Let's go.
No, you go get him. I'll guard the doors, Tiger. On the double. On the double.
I ever tell you the story that Grandpa took me to Europe?
You mean the time when you throwed up on him?
Yeah, that's the one. It's a good story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Police officer coming through.
Yeah, boss.
Thanks. So this is yours, this is Tommy's, this is mine.
Police officer.
Going somewhere, Johnny?
It appears that way.
Not anymore, it doesn't. Hey, what do you want?
Are you a real policeman?
That's right.
Well, where's your gun?
Is your boy? See, I keep it hidden so I won't scare people.
That's a good idea.
Is that your nanny?
Uh-huh.
Why don't you go over to her while I talk to your dad?
Okay.
Good.
Thanks.
I did it for him, not for you.
Hey, what do you think you're doing?
My job, asshole. See you in court.
One of the highlights of the film is the soundtrack. It never got released at the time and was finally released in 2005. The producers and director wanted The Punisher to have a theme tune which could be recognised. I completely forgot how good the score was till I watched the film again, so I had to track it down straight away. Definitely worth getting if you love film scores. The plot of the movie does stick close to the comics to a certain degree. Frank Castle is the city's most wanted and most mysterious vigilante, known as the Punisher. He has killed 125 people in the last 5 years. Castle is an ex-police officer whose family was murdered in a mob hit. Living in the sewers and waging a one-man war against organised crime, his only friend is an old alcoholic named Shake, who speaks in rhyme for reasons unexplained. Now legally declared dead, he strikes back from beyond the grave, killing mobsters where he can find them. Due to his war against the mafia, their families have weakened, forcing one of the family leaders, Gianni Franco, to come in and take control. Franco has a plan to bring the families together as one unit. This, however, has attracted the attention of the Yakuza, Asia's most powerful crime syndicate. Led by Lady Tanaka, the Yakuza decide to take over the mafia's family and all their interests. In order to sway the mobsters to their cause, they kidnap their children and hold them for ransom. Thankfully, the film wasn't dumbed down at the time and released as a PG or 15. They went for a full-on R rating, or 18 if you lived in the UK. To be honest, the gore in the film is pretty tame. You get the odd neck cut here and there. I personally think the later reboots are more violent, but they do have a sort of comic book style look to them, which takes away the gritty feel of the Dolph Lundgren version, and in the end doesn't seem as real. The feature was only produced on a small budget, and you can tell corners were cut. There are plenty of action scenes, but they don't really come across as that exciting. I originally saw The Punisher in my early teens. During the 90s on a channel called Bravo on cable, they showed B movies at the weekends late at night, and one time they had The Toxic Avenger, a cheap trauma movie, and The Punisher on a double bill. I thought awesome, set the VCR to long play and get both recorded. I was really excited to see The Punisher, but after viewing it I felt very underwhelmed and it didn't do much for me. It wasn't awful, but it just lacked a decent story and felt cheap. I did give it a second chance, and it does grow on you, but it's by no means up there with Superman, Batman, or the other majority of the Marvel flicks. I wouldn't lump it in that category of bad superhero films, such as Batman and Robin, Catwoman and Captain America. It's just a bit of a naff film in places. Its main fault is that the movie doesn't stick to the actual character properly. You have Frank Castle working with the mob to take out other gangsters, which he would never do. There are no other characters in the film that appear in the comics, only the main character. It just feels like a standard action film with a guy who is just out for revenge, and it just so happens that the film has the Punisher name attached to it. So in the end it fails as a comic book movie, and it's only just passable as a standard action film. So only seek this out if you're a fan of Dolph Lundgren, or you're just curious to see what it's like as a film. It's not truly terrible, and it's watchable, but very forgettable and probably won't leave you very impressed.
You know, with your flair for entrances, you should consider a career in the theatre.